Hey guys, so 6.3 has been out for a little bit now, and I think this has been a great patch with lots of fun stuff to do and see. But before getting into that content, let's give a shout out to that animation budget. I mean, just look at this bun technology. Don't those buns look just good enough to eat? And is that what they mean by jiggle physics? Because, man, just look at the way that those buns are jiggling. All joking aside, they've really come a long way with the animation in these cutscenes, and whenever there is food involved, you know you are in for a treat. I really feel like whenever there is food in a cutscene, that's where they blow the whole animation budget. At any rate, there is a lot in this patch, and I think the best place to start is the MSQ. So this part of the MSQ had a huge focus on Zero, and I was all about that. I think she is an amazing new character, and I was really happy to see her getting this much screen time and development. One of Zero's most interesting characteristics is how she rationalizes her behavior. In her mind, you don't help someone because you want to, or because you care about them. It's because you're in a contract, or owe some form of debt. It's a quid quo pro sort of thing. She also doesn't believe that she has friends. She's in a cooperative pact. But despite what she says, her actions often betray her words. She's risked her life on multiple occasions, and for the smallest of gestures, she went out to fight an army of Void Sent for a single bun. And she does get called out on this, but she's been in the Void for a long time, and that is apparently just how you survive there. That's the mentality that you needed to have. But now she has a fire in her that she just can't explain anymore, and that fire was largely due to us. I also really loved that scene between Zero and Euless. I thought their interactions were adorable. And not only that, it was also a really heart-wrenching scene, where Euless is recalling how he used to share jelly-filled buns with his family. Not gonna lie, I started to get a bit teary-eyed. So, other than Zero, we also catch up with the twins, and I was very excited to see them again. It's weird to think, but they haven't been a part of the story in over a year now. It really does go to show just how well written these characters are, and how much we've grown to love them, that you really do miss having them around. And I think the writers did a great job at encapsulating what it's like to see a friend again after a long period of time. As for where the story is going, we barely got anything there. What we did get is a bit of Golbez's motivations. Apparently, he is not just some big evil hell-bent on destroying the source. His goal is to save his people that got a really raw deal when the Ascians accidentally turned their reflection into the Void. They have basically been living in hell for thousands of years, where when they die, they don't even get to return to the ethereal sea. The problem is what Golbez wants to do would lead to a massive calamity on the source. Other than the story beats, the solo duty for this part of the MSQ was fantastic. They did such an amazing job at building tension in this one. So, you are controlling Zero, and hordes of the Void Sent are constantly pouring in. It's a battle of attrition, and you are not winning. You are getting outnumbered and overpowered, and this was all done through gameplay. You can feel the situation becoming more and more dire. It's getting harder to keep up your HP, so you are fighting tooth and nail to get through it, as the odds are stacked heavier and heavier against you. It was really great stuff. So that's about it for the MSQ, so now let's take a look at the new dungeon, Lapis Manalis. So this dungeon takes place high in the mountain that is completely unreachable by normal means. So we take a ride on this huge snowplow that just drives us through the elements. And that is the start of the dungeon. And I just thought that was so cool. Riding on this huge vehicle, fighting enemies, the snow is so thick that you can't even really make anything out in the background. And then the snow starts to clear, and you see that huge Garlemald structure just appear in the skybox. What an amazing start to this dungeon. Now, the area that really took my breath away was when you get into the cave structures after that abandoned Reaper village, and you just see all this ceruleum burning on fire in the distance. And it's that kind of spectacle that just always blows me away in these dungeons. Now, we all know the boss fights are the big set pieces, and they also did not disappoint. I feel like the developers are really upping the ante with the mechanics you experience in the dungeons, and I just think that is really cool that they are putting more and more raid-like mechanics in the normal dungeons. It really helps bridge the gap between raiding and dungeons. Now, something that the developers started doing last patch that I really like is, after you clear the dungeon, you don't immediately leave. Instead, the MSQ takes you back through the dungeon, and this gives you a chance to really take in all those details that are so easily missed when you are in a group trying to get through the dungeon for the first time. This also makes the dungeons feel more like a place that actually exists in the world. Not just some instance that exists only to get loot from. So, the new trial is against Rubicante, the Sultan of Flame, the Bender of Fire. As always, the music here absolutely slaps. I think it's my favorite trial song to date. It has this really operatic feel to it, and I just love those soprano high notes and beefy tenor low notes in there. The visuals are also on point. He has this one attack where half of the arena and skybox turns into a fiery crimson red, and it just looks freaking awesome. It's that kind of spectacle that makes these raid encounters such a treat to do. I also love the boss transitions that they do. You get a really fun cutscene that just hypes up the second half of the encounter, and it's basically the boss pulling off their gloves and rolling up their sleeves. Or, scorching off your clothing. Anyways, I thought the normal mode was a really great fight, and it had me so hyped up for the extreme encounter. Which did not disappoint. I thought the extreme encounter was a ton of fun. That purgation mechanic, the one with that scary roulette wheel thing, I thought that was a very spicy mechanic. Also, those are the mechanics I struggle the most with. The geometric spatial reasoning types, and it took me more than a few attempts before it all clicked into place. But this is why I raid. I want to be challenged, and to be put outside my comfort zone, and I had a lot of fun getting this one down. So visually speaking, this is probably my favorite looking raid to date. It just has some gorgeous looking environments that just beg you to stop and stare. In fact, my first run here, the whole raid stopped at the first boss to really take in the environment, which isn't something I've ever seen happen before. Usually, it's a go, go, go type of mentality. The environment really is just that good looking. But by far, my favorite environment was the Ice Palace. It just looked really pretty. It had the spectacle and wow factor when you first entered, and then the skybox with the two moons looming in the distance. That was the cherry on top. Now, the reason we do these raids is of course the boss fights, and much like the environments, they were also amazing. And my favorite was Alone. I just thought every bit of it worked. It had an amazing arena, the attacks were all visually stunning, the mechanics were fun to do, and I thought she had the coolest model out of all of them. She looks like a Valkyrie, and she's wielding a spear and shield, and she can summon countless weapons to attack you with. I just thought that was so cool. I've already run this raid multiple times, just because I wanted to do this fight over and over again. As for the story, they did drop a pretty interesting bombshell this time around. We learned that the gods are heavily influenced by prayer, so depending on how the people view and pray to the gods, actually influence their looks and personality to an extent. And that sounds like a primal, but we've been told explicitly that the 13 are not primals, so it's curious as to why that would be the case. So this does have me intrigued, and I'm really excited to see where this is all heading. Anyways, for the next section, I will just give a quick rundown of some of the other things in the patch. The new Leap of Faith is really fun, and also pretty challenging. Those jumps with the pine cones are no joke, and the bane of my existence. We may have giggled when Yoshida missed a few jumps in the live letter, but he's the one laughing now. The Island Sanctuary also has some new stuff. There is a new axe you can craft, new items to gather, and of course, some new wildlife to capture. Now, you do need a lot of experience points to gain a new level to see those new visions, and I just didn't have it in me to flat out grind for all that experience. I did that the first time around and pretty much burned myself out. So this time, I am just going to take my time with it. As for the PvP, I did try the new arena a few times, but the way the arenas work in 14 is they are on a rotation, where you get one arena every 1.5 hours, and then it changes. And every single time I try to log in to do this arena, it wasn't anywhere near time for its rotation, so I only got a few attempts with it. With that being said, I did think it was a lot of fun. I love the environmental hazards, and I look forward to getting more time in it. As for the side quest, I actually liked Tataru's questline for this patch. It brought back some characters that we haven't seen in a while, and I really enjoyed their interactions. If you are like me and haven't been all that into this questline, I think this one was really good, and I'm glad I didn't skip it like I was planning to. Finally, the Tales of the Newfound Adventurer, the Hektai quest, is absolutely worth doing if you haven't done so. It's in Razat Han at X 7.3 and Y 9.0, and this quest gives so much character development to the four fiends. We learn who they were as humans, what led them to join Golbez, and it's fantastically written, and has cutscenes. I'm just shocked it wasn't part of the MSQ. This seems like important stuff, and you can easily miss it. So, that was the patch so far. We still have a lot of stuff coming, like there's the new Deep Dungeon, the Loporrit Daily Quest, and of course the Ultimate, and I am looking forward to all of it. I actually really want to push myself to do these deep dungeons, and see how well I can do with them solo. You know, I watched that showcase on AGDQ, and it lit a fire in me. Anyways, that is it for this one, and thank you so much for watching. I hope you are enjoying the patch as much as I am, and if you liked what you saw, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, bye!